It's been a little over a year since Apple launched their streaming service Apple TV Plus, and so far it's been a bit of a mixed bag. I, like many people, had the 1-year free trial that Apple was chucking in when you bought a new device right around launch time, so I was excited to check out their programming lineup without having to pay for it. After the typically majestic launch event where they announced shows with everyone from Oprah to Jason Momoa, I was very eager to dive right in. All their shows look fantastic with rich colors, sizable production budgets, and that high-quality crispness that makes Apple feel so premium. But many of the stories just didn't connect with me. I recently watched a new show that's convinced me to give Apple TV one more chance. So let's get into it. Being a Jason Momoa fan who missed seeing our muscled-up growly king as Khal Drogo on Game of Thrones, I started with C. It was fine. The first episode was beautiful visually, but it never hooked me, and I just didn't have the desire to keep watching. Okay, no problem. There was still lots to try at launch time, so I clicked on over to For All Mankind. Again, visually cool and a really interesting concept, but it moved really slowly, and I found myself losing interest and looking down at my phone. Not off to a great start. So I moved on again, this time to what was arguably the flagship of this fledgling streamer, The Morning Show, which boasted the most star-studded cast and the biggest pre-launch buzz. Jennifer Aniston stars as a Today Show-style morning news anchor whose co-host and close friend, played by Steve Carell, is fired after a Me Too scandal rocks the network. Reese Witherspoon is a plucky young reporter from the local news world who finds herself sharing the news desk with Aniston, and drama ensues. The Morning Show is a fascinating piece of television because it's simultaneously a cheap soap opera and a premium cable drama. Despite the high production value, it's often kind of messy and on the nose with its messages, but it's such an entertaining watch. It's like if a really fancy restaurant served gourmet Twinkies. It's like trash, but elevated. I binged the whole first season, and I'm pretty much on board with whatever kind of crazy shit they throw in down the road. And speaking of crazy shit, another Apple TV original that really hooked me was Servant. This creepy series is an interesting look at trauma with a horror twist that tells the story of a wealthy Philadelphia couple who lost their son and who are trying to cope with it through one of those reborn dolls that are made to look exactly like a real baby. They hire a mysterious nanny who seems totally on board with caring for the doll, and eerie, spooky tension follows. The show is dark and sometimes downright disturbing. Everything feels unsettling, from the claustrophobic close-ups to the almost forensic filming of food preparation. The creepiness and the way the mysteries unfold are really engaging, and I was surprised to like it as much as I did, especially since it was heavily billed as being from M. Night Shyamalan, who seems to miss a lot more than he hits these days. After that initial run, I basically ignored Apple TV for a while. The shows I liked were done, and maybe I'd pick it up again when their new seasons started. But then I started hearing good things about a Jason Sudeikis comedy series, and Apple extended the free trial for a few more months, so I clicked over and gave Ted Lasso a try. Nothing about this show seems like something I would like. It's an NBC Sports-produced feel-good comedy about an American football coach who gets hired by an English soccer team, resulting in kooky fish-out-of-water antics. That premise seemed like the type of series you'd find in a dated live studio audience network TV. But I gave in and tried it anyway, and I found myself genuinely laughing before the midpoint of the first episode. Sudeikis' character, Ted Lasso, is ridiculously upbeat, but never annoyingly so. He's contrasted nicely with his boss Rebecca, the wealthy owner of the team. Side note, she's played by the same actress who played Septa Unella on Game of Thrones, which I finally looked up after staring at her and going, "God, she looks so familiar," for at least 5 full minutes. The series definitely has those cheesy network TV moments and some heartfelt stuff that I don't normally like in my comedies, but there's a real chemistry to the cast that prevents it from ever feeling really saccharine in its sweet moments or too broad in its humor. So now I have 3 things on Apple TV that I like, and the addition of Ted Lasso has given me a renewed interest in checking out what else I'm getting in this extended free trial. In thinking about these shows, my theory is that the reason Apple TV hasn't caught on like some of the other streamers is because they haven't quite figured out their identity. For example, when you watch a new series on HBO, you know you're going to get a high-concept, huge-budget, ultra-premium show like Westworld or Game of Thrones, or maybe you'll get an infinitely quotable comedy like Curb Your Enthusiasm, Barry, or Silicon Valley. Or maybe it'll be a deep dive documentary or true crime series that feels heavy and well researched. Apple doesn't have that distinct identity yet. They're a company that thrives off a sleek aesthetic, and that's also clear in their programming, so their shows look stunning, but there's nothing that immediately says this is an Apple TV Plus show. So it can feel like kind of an odd collection of shows and movies when you browse. But Apple basically has infinity money, and their focus on subscription services tells me that this is something they're pretty determined to get right. So while they're not up there with the big streamers yet, I definitely wouldn't rule them out. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.